Hi, I'm Scoot on the Air. Comedian Andy Dick was sucker punched outside of a nightclub in New Orleans. Plus, we'll talk about the continuing theories about Jeffrey Epstein, the jailed pedophile's alleged suicide. This is the Daily Hit on YouTube, Scoot on the Air, YouTube. And by the way, if you haven't become a subscriber, it's free. Go ahead and subscribe. We're going to continue to do this every day. It gives you information about something that's going on. You might disagree with me. You might agree, but it's sort of an opinion-driven rant, if you will, about some of the top stories of the day. And we feel like we give you information or a point of view on how to deal with these things if you have these discussions during the day. We give you at least one side to present if you encounter these conversations when you talk to coworkers, friends, and family. But again, if you haven't become a member, it's a Scoot on the Air YouTube, and that is also the website, SOTA, Scoot on the Air. And yeah, just become a subscriber, and we'll alert you every time there's something new that happens. So Andy Dick, the comedian, was standing outside of a nightclub where he had just performed in the French Quarter of New Orleans. And there were a lot of people outside. He was not alone. Somebody walked up and just cold cocked him, sucker punched him. Andy Dick went down, hit his head. He was rushed to the hospital where they were concerned about brain bleed. And he's going to be okay, but he says he's not coming back to New Orleans. And I don't blame him. And by the way, this is a nightclub that I'm very familiar with because I go to this nightclub often. And there were a lot of people outside. What I find most interesting, and by the way, they've made an arrest. NOPD, good job. They made an arrest. 46-year-old David Hale has been arrested and charged with second-degree battery and simple battery. And he was caught on video. This is what's so curious about it. First of all, when you hear about somebody being sucker punched, the stereotype in the news is it's a black male who is just sucker punching somebody on the street. This is a white guy, a 46-year-old white guy. And when you see everybody standing outside of One-Eye Jack's, this guy walks by. He actually passes a few people going into the crowd. Andy Dick was not the one standing just on the outside. He goes into the crowd and sucker punches him. And then just calmly walks away down the street. Police received tips. They arrested the guy, David Hale. What's the motive? We don't know. But it's apparent that the suspect walked past people. In other words, he singled out Andy Dick and sucker punched him. Why? We don't know. Hope we find out. Because this is something that's going on. It doesn't happen that often, and not just in New Orleans, but there seems to be this idea of such deep frustration living within some people that the best way to manifest that anger or hate or whatever it is to just punch somebody or to hit somebody or in some cases shoot somebody. This is part of the anger that's part of the society we live in. There's always been violence. People have always been angry. There's always been rage. But I just don't remember a time when people were just sucker punching people this often. And again, it's not that often, but it's more than in the past. And so here's a guy, 46 years old. I mean, this is not some punk teenager. This is a 46-year-old thug-minded individual who thinks it's okay to just go take out his anger for whatever reason, whether it's on Andy Dick or society in general, and sucker punch him. I'm glad NOPD arrested him. And we'll see if we figure out what the motive is. Also, the conspiracy theories about Jeffrey Epstein continue, and also there are some experts who are shooting down the conspiracy theories. There's been some talk today about how uh, Jeffrey Epstein really had nothing to gain um, by staying alive. I had nothing to lose by killing himself. I guess that's one way to put it. And so the idea is he knew he was going to prison. He was probably going to prison for the rest of his life. So why would he need to be killed? Well, the one thing that seems to be missing here is the idea that Jeffrey Epstein had a lot of information about people. Now, maybe the FBI, maybe the government in its investigation, maybe they have this information. But see, this is the part that I think is always missing when we talk about sex trafficking. Let's go after the sex traffickers. But why is there this subtle attempt to protect the people who create the market? If Jeffrey Epstein stayed alive and testified, could he have mentioned names? Would that have been more credible than information that's put together from evidence? And I don't know, could the government have made some kind of deal with him? Could he have gotten some concession out of talking about who he helped to get underage girls for sex? So it occurs to me that there is a motive to kill Jeffrey Epstein. And once again, the idea that we're not going after those people, maybe we will, who knows? The Southern District of New York and investigators are looking into this. But we should know the names of the people who Jeffrey Epstein provided underage girls for the purpose of having sex. We'll see what happens.